Good afternoon, team. Good morning, wherever you are choosing to tune in from. How are we today? Give me 1 second. I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to make sure everyone knows. Hello, everyone. We are live. Awesome. I need an assistant to do that for me. How are we, team? Welcome, welcome, welcome to that plant-based weight loss support club. I'm Bianca Jane. I'm your health and lifestyle transformation coach. And if you're watching this on replay, I want you to type in replay in the comments. I love to know what kind of content takes your fancy so I can make more like it, right? And that's going to help you achieve your goals. So if you're watching this on replay, type in replay. If you are watching live, if you've just tuned in and you're like, oh, who's this? Popped up on my Facebook. Say hello, drop in the comments. Where are you tuning in from? Do you struggle to stick to a plan? Let me know in the comments right now, team. If you're watching, I want to know. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Patty. Nice to see you, ladies. Drop into the chat and drop a comment now. Let me know that you are there. Let me know that you're watching and tell me if you struggle to make a plan. So today, team, I'm talking about something that we all struggle with, and that's just sticking to the damn plan. You started off motivated, like this is the final time I'm gonna lose weight. You might meal prep, you buy all the veggies, you're ready, and then maybe a week later, you find yourself like elbow deep in a bag of crisps or at the back end of the Oreo packet, wondering what on earth happened. I use Oreos because they're like my kryptonite, right? So if this sounds familiar, I want you just to pop a little waving emoji, a little hello, or just even me too, hashtag me too in the comments. Where have my comments gone? Okay, drop that in the comments if that resonates with you, because I want to know if this content is going to be worthwhile for you. Honestly, today I don't think I've spoken to a single client. I've not spoken to anyone today. I've been head deep in admin, so you are going to get the best of me. But tonight, I really want to unpack why we don't stick to our plans and more importantly, like how to finally fix it so you can stay on track without feeling like you're constantly fighting yourself. Okay. So, again, team, drop in the comments. Is this something that you feel like you need help with? So, this is just going to be a very short one, by the way, because last week, we actually talked a lot about making a meal plan that you want to stick to. So, this can, like everything that I'm talking about today, can be in reference to a meal plan, it can be in reference to a workout plan, a total lifestyle overhaul, whatever you are wanting to stick to that's a plan, okay? Because I'm going to go into the psychology of it. So this is more about the psychology of sticking to the plan. So there is an element of self-sabotage. So quite often we will abandon our own plans. And this isn't about not having enough willpower because that's kind of a myth, right? Willpower and motivation, I like to say that they're not what we think they are. So when you have a desire to change, a desire to make a plan, you've got a desire, not necessarily motivation. Okay. What happens how we get motivation is we take action, we see some results, and then the results has us feeling motivated to keep taking action. And that's motivation. When you first start a diet plan, when you first start a weight loss plan, you have a desire for change. You have a desire for your dream, for manifesting whatever you want in life. That is your dream and you desire it, but that fades after a short period of time. So quite often diet programs will focus on willpower to get you through, right? That desire to be running away from what you don't want in your life, whether that's joint pain, whether that's IBS problems, whether that is poor relationship to food or um, constantly gaining weight or plateauing. So abandoning our plans ne isn't necessarily about having enough willpower. Um, your brain is kind of simply doing what it's designed to do, and that's keeping you safe and keeping you comfortable. So let's break this down a little bit. Your brain has two main goals: to seek pleasure. So pleasure can be in food, scrolling, social media, sitting on a comfortable sofa, binging on Netflix with a tub of ice cream. And also avoiding discomfort. So discomfort in our brain can mean any kind of change, anything out of the ordinary, anything that requires a lot of effort or uncertainty. So when you make a plan to eat better or to work out or to change your habits, you're introducing this idea of discomfort because it's different to what you're used to, right? Our brain has comfort in the familiar. If it's familiar, it's comfortable. If it's unfamiliar, it's uncomfortable. So when your brain sees this new lifestyle, it goes into panic mode. It goes, whoa, wait, this is new. This feels hard. I want you to remember anytime you've tried to install a new habit, I can assure you, I did this like yesterday where I tried to install a new habit and I forgot the next day. Like you do it once and then you forget the next day. You're like, oh yeah, I was supposed to be doing that. It feels hard. So the brain says, let's just go back to the comfy old habits instead. Even if the comfy old habits isn't too comfortable, even if it's painful, even if the comfortable old habits are actually the reasons why you're gaining weight, the reasons why you might be plateauing, the hard reasons for needing to change or wanting to change, even the idea that potentially your life is on the line, for some people, that is still more comfortable than change. So this is why you feel like that magnetic pull towards the couch instead of the gym, or why you suddenly forget your healthy eating plan when someone offers you a piece of cake. It's not you failing, it's just your brain trying to protect you from change. So let's look at an example, right? Think about it. Think about it like this. If you were learning to drive for the first time, you got behind the wheel um, and then you crashed, your brain will probably say, oh my God, avoid this at all costs. Driving is dangerous. It's the same thing as healthy habits. So if you associate change with stress, overwhelm, failure, your brain will categorize it as a bad idea and it will steer you away from it. And guess what? The more you resist change, the stronger this pattern gets. Okay. So I'm going to say that again because I want you to realize that. I really want you to solidify that thought. Imagine driving for the first time, getting behind the wheel, and you almost crash. Your brain would say, oh my God, avoid this at all costs because it's dangerous. Now, to the brain, that danger is the equivalent of constant stress, feeling overwhelmed, or even failing. And so your brain is going to categorize the next weight loss phase, the next diet, as potential failure. So it's going to steer you away from starting in the first place. And the more you resist, the stronger the pattern gets. So number two, um, number two, number two. So part two. Okay, so we're talking about self-sabotage, and that is typically the reason why we might fall off plan. There are a couple of other reasons which I talked about last week, things like the plan's not realistic, it's not doable. So I should have been a little bit more specific about this one. This is more along the psychology of self-sabotage. So if you're watching this on replay, I haven't pitched this video to you differently. I've pitched it to the way that it should be pitched. Anyway, so part two of this training really is how to rewire your brain so you can actually stick to the plan. Okay. So you're going to need to start lowering the resistance. So if your plan feels too overwhelming, too packed, too much change, your brain is just going to be like, no. You start thinking about the things, like the idea might sound great, but then like, who has ever, drop in the chat, say, yeah, me. Who has ever thought of something and you've thought, do you know what, this is a bloody good idea? And then the more you think about it, the more you start freaking out. And the more you realize that something like there's so much that needs to change. And it's not just about changing the food, it's then about emptying the pantry, creating a new shopping list, finding new shops. It's about weighing things and getting the scales out. And that means having to track things, which means I need to download an app. And then all of a sudden, this small idea snowballs, and then before you know it, your brain is going, "Oh my God, this is way too much. This is too much change. This is just too much for me." And you're feeling so overwhelmed that you just kind of implode. Has that ever happened to you? If it has, just drop yes, me in the chat. Because I can tell you this has happened for me before. So it just kind of goes to show that the plan might be a little bit overwhelming, or you haven't completely laid out every corner of that. And when things feel overwhelming, your best bet, like the best thing that you can do if you feel overwhelmed, is get pen to paper. Whether it's a literal pen and a piece of paper, whether it's a whiteboard, whether it's a notes on your phone, and get everything out that you need to get out of your mind. Get everything out onto paper, because once you see it on paper, it no longer holds this idea of being so monumental in your head, and what was taking up a lot of space is now one line on a piece of paper, so that frees up a lot of mental space. So when we're feeling overwhelmed, we dramatize things as well. I like to think of things as like I don't know, let's just say like a book, for example. So a book takes up a little bit of space, so I like to think of like thoughts as being the difference between these. Like some thoughts are this size and some thoughts are this size. And my brain only has the capacity for one bookshelf, right? This is how I personally see thoughts. I don't know what that makes me categorically in terms of like in terms of psychological issues. I don't know where that sees me, but I see a lot of things in pictures and colors and stuff like that. Like, has anyone, I digress, but has anyone ever heard of people seeing color in sounds? Because I see color in sounds as well. If anyone wants to diagnose me, feel free. Anyway, so some thoughts, they might seem insignificant, but they actually take up a significant amount of space in your brain, right? So whether you're thinking about the space of the books or whether you're thinking about the space of a file on your phone or on your device, it takes up this particular amount of space. So when you offload all of that, you're freeing up mental space and you're looking at it in terms of a list, as opposed to multiple 10 gigabytes or 1,000-page books in your brain, and you're able to simplify that. Okay, so if the plan feels too overwhelming, is your brain is going to say this is way too much to think about. You're going to need to make it laughably easy for yourself. So instead of I'm going to go and work out every day for an hour every day, start off with I'm going to do 5 squats before I go to bed, right? Instead of I'm never eating sugar again, start with I'll swap my afternoon snack for something healthier 3 times a week. Make it freaking deacon easily doable. Okay, make it doable. Your brain also needs proof that it isn't scary before it lets you move forward. It needs to know that this is a safe move and that it doesn't require too much effort to change. What's one goal that you can shrink? Just that you can shrink down so small that it feels almost too easy, too insignificant. In fact, it might drop into the chat now. What's one goal that you would like to shrink down so it feels too easy? what typically will happen then is people will come in and they'll shrink their goal. They'll shrink their goal. And then they say something along the lines of, well, that's not going to be enough. So think about when I asked you that question, what goal came up to mind? And then you thought, well, actually, that's not going to be enough. Just drop in the chat enough if you felt like when you shrunk your goal down, it wasn't going to be enough. Because here's another thing. When you feel like it's not going to be enough, you never make progress because you're constantly waiting to make massive moves and you're looking to make massive moves. But when you look to make massive moves, your brain freaks out. It panics. There's too much change. There's too much going on. And so making a massive move, if you take that massive move, now all of a sudden your brain starts downloading all of those things that it needs to do that is involved with this one thing. And so now your brain is going to go into overdrive. It freaks out, panic, and you fall off the wagon or you quit the plan. And so this is very detrimental thinking when we say to ourselves, this is not going to be enough. Because we usually say this is not going to be enough, so we don't take any action. Okay. However, if you say this is not going to be enough, but I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm going to try, then guess what? You're going to take a little action that is doable in your mind, a little tiny plan that is doable in your mind. And in a couple of months' time or a couple of weeks' time, you would have made more progress than you would have made waiting for a huge step to just settle and just click. Okay, there are very rare instances in the world where making so much change actually just settled in, right? There are very, very rare instances. However, be that person. If you can't get rid of, or you struggle to get rid of the thoughts of this isn't going to be enough to make a change, then tell yourself, this is plenty to make a change, and I get to add more later, right? If anything, just say, this might not be enough, but I get to add more later. Otherwise, if you just sit there waiting to take massive action, huge monumental steps, you might be sitting there for a while, or you might be back at square one in no time because your brain is going to do that freaky deaky thing and it's going to freak out on you. So step one is to lower the resistance. And step two, I want you to work with your brain, not against it. If you tell your brain, I can't have chocolate, what is going to happen? You want more chocolate. Because restriction also makes your brain panic. Now, don't get me wrong. This is a great default wiring that our brains have. And the reason why it is this way, I do believe, the reason why it's this way is when we were in foraging times, if we found a calorie-dense food, if your brain wasn't wired in the way to make the most of what it can right then and there, then you would have taken one of those berries or the calorie dense foods at that time, and then you would have left the rest instead of stocking up for later. Okay, so what would happen is we would have to stock up on those energy levels when we can. It wasn't like you could go down to the friggin' shops and buy a croissant. Okay, it was foraging. So when you came across calorie dense foods, maybe fats and sugars like honey or anything like that, your brain has to have some sort of programming where it gives you that pull and desire to consume as much of that as you can. So when you say to myself, oh, I can't have chocolate, it kind of creates this, oh, I must have it because I can't have it. So if I can't have it, if it's not available, I need to get as much of this as I possibly can. So it has a very counter intuitive like effect, counter whatever the word is, because you are restricting yourself so much that your brain is telling you that you need it even more. So the way that I work around this and the way that I work with my clients is to give ourselves permission and take control. Instead of saying, I can't eat this, we say, I choose not to eat that today because I feel better when I don't. Think about the difference. Think about where the control now sits in that sentence. When you say I can't, it feels very much out of your control, which feels rebellious when you then, and you feel the desire and need to scoff in as much as you can. Whereas when you say I choose not to, the power goes back to you. You take that power and you make it much easier for yourself because you don't create that obsessive, restrictive mindset, that urgent, primal instinct. You don't trigger that. So saying I choose not to eat, like I say that. So a lot of people, if I go out, they'll say, "Oh, you can't have that. It's not vegan," or "Oh, you can't have that because you're eating healthy." I say, actually, I can have that. I just choose not to eat that, but thank you. Or if I'm saying it to someone else, I just say, I choose not to eat that, but thank you. Or, whatever the words are. Um, oh, just found some comments. God's sake. I'll come back to that in just a second. So is this making sense? Now I found the comment section, which I thought I had up, but it wasn't. Ladies who are watching this, is this making sense? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? So choose your words wisely and give yourself permission and control. And this subtle shift will really make your brain feel safe around that food instead of restricted. It's really about giving yourself permission to almost trick your brain. And that's okay to say. I think that's perfectly okay to say if you're being mindful about it, right? You're tricking your brain. Well, you're not tricking your brain really because you do choose to get to eat it. And it's not that you can't. So you're creating a false urge. You're creating that environment. Because at the end of the day, if you put something in your mouth and it's not going to instantly kill you, you can't say, I can't eat that. And you should be saying, I choose not to eat that. And the only difference is one is putting the control in your hands and one is putting the control into your instinctive brain. And that one's still wired for caveman times. So you want to make this subtle shift to help your brain feel safe instead of restricted and deprived. So I can eat chocolate whenever I want, but not right now. I'm choosing something that makes me feel good instead. See how much lighter that feels, how much better that feels. I want you to try this. I want you to write this in the comments right now. If you're on replay or live, type this in the comments for me right now. I choose to not eat blank. So insert the words that or the foods that you're choosing not to eat because I feel better when I don't. So I want you to drop that in the comments, whether you're on replay or live. That's how I know that you've been here. That's how I know that you've actually watched the video. Okay. I'm going to give you a second to drop it in there now. I choose to nourish my body. Sorry. I choose to not eat blank because I feel better when I don't. Give yourself that power. When we write things down, when we say it out loud, when we tell other people, when we type things out, it becomes a reality, not just a thought. So although quite a lot of the time our thoughts feel very real, some of our thoughts don't feel very real until they are actually on pen and paper. They feel real, but they don't seem real when until they're out on paper or until you write it down. So I want you to write it down still. If you haven't done it yet, write it down now. I choose to not eat blank because I feel better when I don't. Okay, I want you to create that promise to yourself. Remove that restriction, remove that deprivation. By just writing that in the chats now, you are going to shift your mindset from feeling restricted and deprived into feeling safe and in control. I look forward to seeing those comments in the chat. So you get to choose to nourish your body. I get to choose to nourish my body. Feel free to drop that in the chat right now as well if you want to continue rewiring your brain. We're choosing the words that we want to become. This is how much this shit works. Okay. I am writing in my journal at least once a day, a whole page of the thoughts I want to think. Because writing it down, saying it out loud, typing it in the chat, that is the steps to rewire your brain. You can have a thought, but the more you act on that thought, the more you verbalize that thought, the truer it becomes. So step number 3, you're going to set up a fail-proof system instead of relying on willpower. So like I said, like willpower is like a battery sometimes, right? And it can drain fast when we're using sheer grit and determination to not be where we don't want to be. That shit only lasts a few weeks or months max. Okay, and you don't really want to rely on willpower because it's not going to be there for long. So when you tune into real motivation, really pulling out on your own heartstrings, finding your why, when you come to that, you've got a much more sturdy um, sense of motivation, piece of motivation to keep you going. Okay, so you're going to change your environment. If you don't want to snack at night, don't keep the snacks in the house. If you want to work out more, lay your gym clothes out the night before. That's what I do. I never used to. And I was like, I relied on willpower. I used to rely on the version of me that's just woken up first thing in the morning to choose an outfit and to feel motivated to go to the gym, right? I used to believe or want to believe. I used to want to believe that Bianca, when she wakes up, she's going to wake up like a Disney princess. Oh, that was such a beautiful sleep, wasn't it? And then she's going to put on her little gym clothes, and then she's going to have some lemon water, and she's going to be all bright and dandy. Every single day, I believed that that was who I was going to be. I just knew, and I was freaking wrong. Every day I was wrong. And so I had to change my environment. Something had to change because Bianca at 4:45 in the morning, she mopes to the bathroom. She pulls that cable for the light, sits there, goes for a wee like this until she can pry her eyes out open. This is like the God's honest truth. So then I'm sitting on the toilet, like trying to battle the light with my eyes. Okay, I'm kind of there. Yeah, finish my wee, go into the living room and pull out my journal, fill up my water bottle, make sure that I always have a decent amount of water before I leave. And then I sit down and I start writing out a bunch of things that I've kind of habitualized now. But all of those things are in my environment. They are right there to go. Oh, I totally missed the main point of the main point of that explanation. The pile of clothes are ready to go. They are ready to rock right there. Okay. So I changed my environment. I put things in the way of me getting up in the morning. right? So one thing that is I find really useful, and it sounds so lazy, but it actually saves time, right? It actually saves time, and effort and brain power, is the night before, put your gym clothes, like put your gym clothes in the bathroom. So when you sit down, when you sit down on the toilet first thing in the morning, um, you're then putting like your gym clothes on and your socks on. Little life hack. It actually it's a game changer. And then I put all my makeup and stuff in the bathroom, so I don't need to leave and come back and be tempted to get back into bed. Anyway, I digress. Um, change your environment. If you want to work out more, lay your gym clothes out the night before, okay? Your success is determined by the systems that you create for yourself, the environment that you create for yourself. Notice now, is your environment set up for success? Are the healthy things visible? Are they in your way? Do you have to move your journal off your pillow to get to sleep? If you're wanting to journal, that's a really good place to put it. Or put it underneath your pillow or underneath the duvet or on top if you always forget. And then so you've got to take it out the way. You want to create more friction between being unhealthy and reduce the friction between being healthy. So basically making the healthier choice the easier choice, and making the unhealthy choice, i.e., the version of you or the habits of the person, the version of you that you don't want to be, making those harder. And so an example that I've told you there is making the healthy habits easier by putting my gym clothes out, by putting my journal right next to my bed, and it's kind of like on the way to the bathroom, right? It's not on the other side of the room or anything like that. And making, so that's making healthy habits easier, making unhealthy habits harder. For me, that's putting junk food or sweets like dates or peanut butter in a difficult to reach place. It is about putting, like, I've got so many blocks and barriers on my phone for social media. There's a new filter that I've used, which so you swipe down and then there's this button. If anyone has an iPhone, there's this button here, and you turn that and it turns everything gray. Like it turns literally everything gray. And so that helps me stop scrolling. So again, I'm setting up more friction. I'm setting time limits on my phone. I just make these things harder. Are you picking up what I'm putting down, teen? So your brain isn't lazy. It's wired to avoid discomfort. You've got to shrink your plans. You've got to shrink your goals to make them feel effortless at first, and then you can make it harder, as opposed to jumping in at the deep end. What people do is they make their plan so freaking difficult and so different to what you already do that it feels so difficult, so hard. Your brain goes, no, thank you. Too much effort, too much willpower needed. No thanks. So instead of making any effort, you end up regressing, right? So make them so small that your brain will tell you that's not going to be enough, because then when it is enough, you can add more. When it is enough, then you can add more. So start small and work up, as opposed to trying to start big. Does that make sense? Type in start big into the comments if that makes sense. And then you're going to reframe your language to give yourself so much more control. Look at the verbiage that you're using. How do you give yourself power, and how do you give away your power? Who are you giving the power to for what goes into your body? Are you choosing not to have foods? Are you choosing not to have people in your life? Are you choosing to set boundaries? Or is it just hands up? Oh, I can't. That's not my responsibility. Oh, I can't. I can't have this. I can't do this. I've been told not to. That's giving someone else the power. When you give someone else the power, you create this rebellion, the rebellious streak in you. You create this desire to rebel against outside authorities, the desire to say screw you to the diet systems, to your trainer, your personal trainer, or whoever's set out the plan for you. You just say no, no, I don't want to. Who are you to tell me what to do? Tell me if that's ever happened with you before as well. So I want you to pick one thing that you're going to implement from this training today. Will you shrink a goal? Can you change how you talk to yourself? Can you set up a new system? Can you change something in your environment? And I want you to comment on this below and tell me your action step. Say, my action step from this video is, and then tell me what you're going to implement. Remember, it's not a big overhaul. We're not looking to change your entire life. I'm not asking you to pick up and move across the country. I'm asking you to make a tiny step, like putting your journal on your pillow. And if you think, or if the words come up in your head and say, that will never be enough, you change those thoughts. Because that will never be enough. You're right. If you let that thought go with you, you are going to fail. Whereas if you take the thought of that will never be enough and you add on the end, but I'm going to give it a go, and then I get to add more, then you will create more progress. So let me know. My action step is, drop it in the comments. And if you're totally done with the cycle of setting goals and ghosting them, coming back to a plan and ghosting it again, and you're ready to create lasting change without relying on willpower, that plant-based weight loss bootcamp is where we make this shit happen for reals. And we start next week, okay? March the 3rd, we start next week. I have a few spaces available. It's an intimate group coaching session, which means you get a lot of time with me. You get a lot more one-to-one with me when it's a small group coaching session. There's a lot more back and forth. There's a lot more chit chat. There's a lot more diving into what is important to you, shifting your limiting beliefs, shifting the way that you see through the lens of your story, of your background. You know, we can talk a lot more about the nutrition and how to optimize your lifestyle, how to optimize your nutrition for maximum weight loss results without overhauling everything, without changing everything at once. So you get so much more one-to-one with the small groups. And I can assure you, team, it's a small group. Okay. So get in there because it's a free 5 days coaching opportunity. If you want to join us, just message bootcamp in the comments below. And I'll have a chat with you. Make sure that you're a good fit first for the free 5 day coaching opportunity. And if you are, we'll get you registered. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. You are amazing, amazing. I'm super proud of you all. So go take action because knowing isn't enough. You got to do something with it. Okay. I'll see you all soon. Here's to your health overhaul. Bye.